So this is Kal Kat, the Kal Katster, and this is a review of Imposters, the latest Star Trek Picard episode. Halfway through the season, there's only 10 episodes. It's similar to Starship Locations, Discovery before that, Starship Strange Worlds. Yeah. So yeah, this one's weird. Opens with Starfleet's on its way. Opens with a Jack Crusher having a hallucination about killing members of the crew that turn out to have like weird alien stuff stuck on them that makes them either changelings or bluegills or something else. There's or both, and it's clear what that is in the story. But it's a hallucination, and then later on the Intrepid shows up, but it's not the Intrepid class Intrepid, the Voyager starship. It's another class of Intrepid, which would be confusing. There's 2 or 3 Intrepids out there. They probably should have given it a different name. It's a different class. It's a Bill Proust design, another Bill Proust design. Yeah, I was going to say Ryan Church. No, it's Bill Proust. And he named it after a city in Germany. I think they should have just called it the Berlin or something like that. It's just really obvious. Because the Intrepid, throws it off. It's not the right ship. But yeah, anything else, like... Name it Cole after Helmut Kohl. The 2000s president of Germany. Anyway, so you have Nimitz Himmel after the composer. Himmel. The composer in the 1800s. Had nothing to do with Hitler. 50 years before him. Anyway, so von Himmel. And we're named it the Klecken after Frank Zappa. Burr Klecken. Yes. You look that one up. It's kind of like Bukkake. Yeah. We have a cat in the box. They're going to actually reenact Schrödinger's cat. No, we're not. Anyway, so the story continues with the people together, and the Intrepid arrives, and the crew's going to shuttle over instead of beaming over. Yeah, and then Ro Laren shows up. I don't know if it actually is Michelle Forbes playing this character in this version of it or not. It's hard to tell. It has been like over 20 years. So maybe not. If it is, that's cool. And she's there. And then we go back to the planet where Worf and Raffi are having their sparring session from the trailer, which they grafted into the other scene earlier to make it look like they were fighting each other like on purpose. And then there was sort of a fake-out fight later, because you know they were going to do that. You know they're going to do the mystery box thing. Okay, we have a fight here, so we know they can both handle each other. So later on we can have a fake-out in front of the Kingpin guy. The subplot with the Kingpin guy. Which is really not the most interesting part of it. The Kingpin guy reveals that he was Sneed's right-hand person, which is consistent with Sneed and Johnson from On Location, Starship Locations. They were supposedly a team. The board king and queen were a team. They weren't married though. They were just a team. They were like brother and sister. They were a team. Yeah, and the same thing here. So that's in there. Ro Laren's in here because of Ro Laren. Because Ro Laren was in the Starship Chimera in the beginning, and during the interrogation by Tuvok of Nick Locarno in the Starship Locations Chimera, the Destiny device. You can go back and look at that 2019 fan film. And Tuvok was on Deep Space Nine as the Starfleet contingent on the station at that point in 2388. So yeah, I know that in Lower Decks they showed Deep Space Nine and Kira was on there, and Kira met Shax, but it's still consistent. Tuvok could be walking around there somewhere. and so could Ro. And in our version of the story, it wasn't the Emmett Till that was the ship near the station in that one. That's the Ira Bear spinoff at that point. But it was the Ronald Reagan, Starship Ronald Reagan, Galaxy class, older ship with a 71988, the Ronald Reagan, which was a redress of the Enterprise D model, and it was commanded by Ro Laren in the story. And we get to see it briefly in the film, but it doesn't actually, they don't show the bridge and all that, because we hadn't built the bridge yet. Not until Starship Locations where we built the Next Generation bridge, but it was only partial bridge, so we just used it for the that weird Starship Galaxy reference from Red Letter Media. We used it there. But that's neither here nor there, because this is clearly a different timeline in which Ro Laren, pretty much sacrifices herself. There's a lot of sacrifices in here, and a lot of bait and switch. And a lot of changelings. So they've found the changeling lady was masquerading as LaForge, the other LaForge, and they autopsy it and find out it's still humanoid, and they haven't detected the bluegills in it yet. But there's something to do with the bluegills. It's the bluegills. Yeah, it's in the story. Are the bluegills at war with the changelings? That would be interesting. That'd be interesting. Yeah. That's just what it is. That's what it's supposed to be, anyway. Yeah. So halfway through, we kind of figured that out. So yeah. So we have the B story and the A story. We have Ro, Picard. We have the son having hallucinations. We have they're calling to him. The Great Link's calling him. It's clearly some sort of sleeper agent thing going on. Section 31 thing. It's unclear as to if the Dr. Crusher knows, or if he was replaced at some point with the imposter. I'm guessing what they're doing is the Tribble symbiote thing, and that's what they're doing. As they're doing something similar to what we did in Starship Location Strange Worlds, not Stranger Worlds, Strange Worlds, in which the bluegills were actually renegade Trill symbiotes that got out from another subspecies of them, and they had autonomous abilities to go about, inhabit people, and they were at war with the other symbiotes, and that's why they didn't attack Dax and the other Trills on the ship in the story in Silly Trek, because they wouldn't attack their own. Just the other people. So it was really, not attack their own. And also, they didn't like the taste of certain types of Cillians. Apparently, the Harris character, similar to the Connors character, had diabetes, so they didn't like the taste of that, so that they could tell. Even though they kind of broke their logic of that story, in that at the end, one of them did masquerade as Harris, as Towhead Harris, but it wasn't actually him. It was a guy masquerading as him. So he could pretend to be him, but he couldn't, as a changeling, but he couldn't. Yeah. So there was a changeling in there too. They killed him, but yes, wasn't the original guy. No. Yeah. So they had the changelings and the Harris, and they had giant tribbles. Yeah, giant tribble queens and stuff. Because they would go inside the tribble and then become like literal furries. Not so weird as David Gerald didn't approve. He did. Because I'm at that convention last year. That idea is hilarious. I like that. They'd have to be sentient. That actually makes sense. I did not think of that. Anyways, how would you do that? Gee. So we have yet another scene that's probably going to kind of tick off the Trek fans, in that they kill the main character. They kill Ro Laren. There's this heartfelt speech. There's an interrogation followed by a speech. The interrogation is very similar to the one at Starship Chimera. Go watch my fan film. It's in there. Where Ro Laren had been disgraced and brought back after serving her time and became a commander. but in the Silly Trek universe, by 2388, she already was. So yeah, she just stayed a commander, I guess. It still works, actually. If you do the math, it's got, okay, Ro Laren must have left the Maquis at some point before 2388. Redeemed herself and come back, just like Locarno redeemed himself in 2376 during the Dominion War. And they kind of addressed that a little too. So a little bit of our stuff is addressed in this story, which is like, oh yeah, they definitely watched it. And they think it's canon. It's not. It's B canon. It's B canon. It's beta canon. It's fan film. But that's cool that Terry Dallas used some of our stuff in there. We obviously used some of it. And then we can tell you, yes, he did. For free of charge. Use some of our stuff. Also, they're using some of Renegade stuff too. Some of First Frontier, some of the other stuff. They're kind of using a little bit of Hidden Frontier too. Which was the one with the other character with my name. With me. I wasn't in Hidden Frontiers. but yeah. Yeah, so it was going to be in Excalibur, the fan film. That didn't work out. That fell apart. There are two of those, but there were one of the Excalibur fan films. But it ended up not being that. That fan film started up the same time I did, so yeah. Yeah, Chimera was eventually done 12 years later. So they finished it. We finished it. 3 parts, 5 hours each year. In 2019. Can't say that it wasn't in the tradition of what they were already doing on Discovery, because it kind of was, except we wrote our script way back in 2006. It's updated in 2012, so it was way before that. And it had nothing to do with Mike Changamil's game. That was later. That was Starship Locations. To do with the game, and that went to a different crew. That went to the guys doing Lord X. Hence the appearance of Tendi, the bright-eyed character, and the transhuman, half-human, half-Borg guy, Rutherford. Those are Gamelt characters. Whereas the commander in that, and the commander in this, are modeled after Henderson, character from Starcrackers from our stuff. Commander guy. But also, he's modeled after somebody from the Darksoft games. So, yeah, so... Anyway, so, which we have not played yet. We've gone through run-throughs, but haven't played yet. It Drive crashed, and we couldn't play it. So, yeah, they do a Road Zero sacrifice thing. And then we find out that Worf's handler was actually Ro. And in the earring was spycraft stuff in the earring, and they were able to figure out the plot at the end. But you figure if she's Section 31, she probably sent a clone of herself over there with it's probably not her. She's probably alive. So you could just say that, okay, it's a Section 31 thing. Like Sloane from Section 31, she can pop up again later. I don't like the idea of Section 31 bragging about itself being clandestine, because that's not clandestine, that's not secret. Discovery kind of did it wrong. Here they kind of backtracked and said, no, she's actually sort of a secret intelligence person, and it's a secret. Again, so they tell us, retcon it back to Deep Space Nine levels and said, yeah, these secret agents doing things. Yeah, Worf technically works for Section 31 at this point, and Raffi too. And yeah, so that makes sense. It's like, oh, okay, they're not bragging about it. They're not going around saying, I'm a spy, because that would be stupid. Or having a black badge on that says Section 31. Ooh, it's like no, it's a secret thing. Also, Daystrom Station is different from Daystrom. Sure would be. If the one on the planet would be just the institute itself, the college. Why? Yeah, so there's changelings. They evacuate the ship to the other one. The changelings, they evacuate most of the ship to the other one, leaving Riker and Shaw and Seven and our main characters and LaForge. They crash LaForge, and the other one's Crass LaForge. Yeah, it's kinda. Yeah, we have and then pseudo Picard's son, sleeper agent, who's clearly a sleeper agent at this point. His nightmares and stuff or whatever. I think he's probably some sort of drone augment / on the side of the good bluegills, I'm thinking. He's on the side of the good ones. There's good ones and bad ones, because like the Trill War and all that. He's on the side of the good ones. He was engineered somehow. It's going to be some kind of weird genetic engineering thing. They were showing genes and genetic engineering in the there's hints in the end credits each episode about stuff. It's something weird going on with genetics. He's probably some sort of augment, illegally created to pass as Picard's son. It's obvious. I mean, if they don't do that, I would be amazed if they didn't. That's probably what they're going to do. And the bluegills come in later on when he has a hallucination after killing the guard guys, and he sees the bluegills all up the walls. Yeah, the bluegills. They're bluegills. That's what it is. They go up the walls. Oh, yeah, the bluegills are back. Yay. Ooh. Starfleet. Yeah, of course they did. And what's interesting is this story, the start date of this story, probably last week. It's 78000 something, 7812 or something. That would set it in 2401, not 2404. So yeah, if they're following the star dates and they didn't change them, it would be before the events of Starship Locations, season 1, Starship Locations: Strange Worlds. It would be 2402 in that series. But you could jigger it and say it's 2401 if time dilation occurred. And there we did introduce the Emmett Till and the Ira Bear version of DS9, but we changed that too. And we said, no, Nog didn't die there. That's dumb. He'd have to become famous first. If command a ship, here is where he becomes famous. Commanding the Emmett Till and its space admissions. So if that were the guy, they'll have to recast him. So, he won't. But I wouldn't doubt it if Dax showed up. But yeah, I don't think they really killed off a legacy character, Ro Laren. That would be messed up. I think they find a way to bring her back, or they'll just not say anything because, unlike when they did Ichib, because they didn't like the actor. That wasn't the reason. Anyway, so yeah, there was a lot of weird stuff to fathom there. All the stuff aligning with the. It was almost not aligning with the Chimera stuff, but then it was because we couldn't. Yeah. I knew some stuff ahead of time. Didn't know some stuff ahead of time. Guessed. Very much guessed. So yes, they should just hire us. And of course, one of the guys that was killed by the guy was one of the characters they cast. So beat up by Picard's son. Yeah. So cool. Yeah. And it's still kind of Wrath of Khan. There's another Starfleet ship after them. Yeah. It's still kind of. But yeah, the idea that all of the enemies of the universe are coming after them is similar to some of those other episodes. Yeah, it's similar to Discovery and the other one, and the Burn and all that. Similar to the AI wanting to destroy everybody. You know what would be cool, though, is if they tied it into the finale of first season of Picard with the thing coming through the hole, and they basically the Cthulhu thing, and they said, oh, they came from some of them came from there through the portal. Find out about humanity and stuff. It'd be cool if they tied it into that. They went back there, but they probably won't. Everything seems to happen in the story for a reason until it doesn't. It is better written than last season. Last season had a lot of scenes that set up a really cool arc and then kind of left it dangling. They even had an episode that was only 38 minutes long where they went to a club last season, and it was like, why is this so short? What's missing from this episode? The ending, the guy getting hit by a car. Picard gets hit by a car and then rescued. No one sees anything. No one saw that. How did they get away? There was probably like a 10-minute scene that just got deleted. They needed to have that 10-minute scene in there to establish, oh, you kind of forgot the ending and skip to this other part. How'd you do that? Yeah. And the first season of Picard also had the weird. They forgot that even though they filmed the vineyards in Napa, that's where the vineyard is, the Napa area. They thought that France and Napa were the same thing. They had a geographic mind fart. So how did soon, in less than 12 hours, get back to Los Angeles to stop the shuttle flight in season 2. He couldn't have. He would have had to charter a space flight or something, or a ship or something, to get back to Los Angeles from Paris, across the world. How did he get there? He didn't use the transporter. Did he? And if he did use the transporter, how did he use the transporter? Because there's not emitters on the other side of the planet. From the ship to the... How would they use the transporter to do that? There has to be a ship in orbit in order to beam somebody from one place to the other. The ship can't be on the Earth and then beam to the other place on the Earth. That doesn't make sense. Oh well. Anyways, but yeah, the plot holes are bluegills. Now, if a giant tribble shows up, yeah, that'd be funny. Giant furry beast shows up and it talks like divine. I'm fabulous. I'm a tribble. You're wearing that tribble as a coat. You're actually a bluegill in there. Yes. And then they blew her up on a cool little ship. As long as we didn't bury the gays. We didn't. Unless you count the exploding tribble. Anyway, yeah, so rambling on about my stuff. This episode was not as messed up as the Egypt one. Yeah, Ro Laren can be redeemed. Sure, why not? And she would totally be a spy. Why not? Sure. Fine. Works. Yeah. And they have, well, if they're only doing 10, they have just a few more episodes. 4 more. And this is part of a 2-parter, and then the next 2 will be a 2-parter, maybe 3. Not a lot of, I haven't heard from LeVar Burton and Brent Spiner yet, so it's kind of funny that they're only in half of it. Maybe they were like, I don't really want to be in this one. Besides, that Kal Kat guy already had Macon Rich being played by, from Red Letter Media, playing me and Lore and stuff. It didn't make any sense. Neelix. What? Anyway, so... No, it really didn't. We're not associated with Red Letter Media in any way, except for stuff being referenced on their show.